Good morning, everybody. It's TakeASeat.tv time. I'm Kevin Hull, and we are hosting another great, exciting entrepreneur this morning, a guy from the property industry. Great to have someone on like that. I don't think we've interviewed a property guy in the past. But just some background about TakeASeat.tv. We're all about entrepreneurial design. So we believe that you are born as an entrepreneur. We can't teach you how to be an entrepreneur. You are born an entrepreneur. And what we'd like to show people is what it looks like when people function inside their design. Whether you're an employee or an entrepreneur, both of those are fantastic ways to generate wealth, but you have to function within your design. And you'll hear some of this when we speak to this entrepreneur this morning. You'll always see when we speak to an entrepreneur, you'll see exactly what I mean. There's magic that happens when you function inside your design. So I'm going to invite Gary on. He's from Icon Property Group. Gary, good morning. Great to have you on the show.
Good morning, Kevin, and thanks for having me. It's so wonderful to be with you.
Thank you. Gary, I see there's YouTube in the background there. There's a lady shouting something there. So I think you guys are very active on social media already. I think you guys are taking the world by storm in terms of property. I don't see property guys on social media. So that's a first, I think, as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot has happened. I think more has happened in the last 3 to 5 years in real estate than the previous 17 years. And I think, if you're not going to digitally and socially advance your business, I think by the year 2030, a lot of those companies that hasn't adapted, I think they're going to become dinosaurs. They're going to become extinct.
Absolutely. Gary, so just for the people that don't know you, I met you a couple of months ago now, and we recently had a coffee as well. So just so the people know who you are, just give us in 2 minutes, just your background from when you left school to where you are now. Just a quick 2-minute review.
100%. So look, I mean, I attended a government school back in 1995, Florida Secondary School. It was sort of a government school.
Those were good schools, Gary.
That's good schools. They were. In fact, they were quite functional, to be quite honest with you. Right. Then anyway, my father basically a builder. Mom was a housewife. 12 kids. So we come from a simple background. Grew up in an area called Ravensmead on the Cape Flats.
Wow.
From a young age, I could sell. My father then eventually said to me, Gary, you've got a choice in life. You can work for a company and have problems, or you can have your own business and have problems. So you must decide. This was basically his bit of advice in life for me. Right. I then chose the latter, started selling women's underwear and clothing and socks.
Oh, that's a great thought. Women's underwear, Gary. That must have been daunting.
Not only did I sell the underwear, but my sales pitch was I've also done the fitment. So that
I was just going to ask, were you the model as well, or did you at least have models at that time?
No. I think at that point, because of a 5% body fat, I wouldn't make a good underwear model,
Got it. Now, look, the extent to what entrepreneurs have to go to build a business, it's ridiculous. Anyway, you said you were selling underwear and socks. So tell us from that point forward how it went.
Yeah, and look, so here I am. I'm selling socks. I lost my parents when I was young. That spiraled into a direction where I needed a job. In my mind, I needed a job. The funny thing was, looking back now, whatever job I ever looked for, I got fired. I was unemployable. Right. I wouldn't listen to the system. I wouldn't listen to the rules. It just didn't make sense to me. And eventually, I end up in a job in a company in Bree Street. And one day, a phone rang. Literally, a phone rang, like in the movie The Matrix. Nobody wants to answer this phone. I said, "No, I'll answer the phone." And eventually, I answered the phone, and on the other side, unknown to me, would become my mentor for the next 7 years, a man by the name of Dean Leach. He then took me up under his wing. He mentored me for 7 years in real estate. The way he offered me the job, he said, listen, don't you want to sell real estate? I said, how do you sell real estate? He said, now come, work for me, I'll show you. And one of my first sales ever was on Prince George Drive in Muizenberg. and I sold the property and to a Muslim family, and that's where it began. And the rest is history.
Amazing story, Gary. Amazing. So there's a lot to work with there. I can see design and all of that. So you started off as from a point of necessity. That's what you said. And I think most entrepreneurs start there. You know, I have to feed people around me, or feed myself first, and then feed my family. So Gary, obviously from the very start, you had a sales ability. Can you remember at school already? Did people sense that in you? Were you always that way inclined? Was that always part of who you were?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I had a guy, Mr. Michaels. He was sort of my standard 4, grade 6 teacher. And he said to me, Gary, you've got the gift of the gab. And, so back then I didn't really understand all these fancy terms. It was just like, wow, that sounds fascinating. But from a young age, I was able to express myself fairly okay, within the English language.
Yep.
And then I would sell ties and perfume and sweets and stuff at school. So yeah, looking back, I always had the sale thing about me, to take a product and exchange it for money. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Gary, and tell me, you mentioned that you lost your parents at an early age, and that must have been quite a shock. I mean, what basically happens there is you realize, obviously, you're going to have to take control of your own life. How much of an influence was that in starting everything, and how, as a young child, did you process all of that?
Well, I don't think you can process it as a young child. I mean, as a 19 or 20-year-old, I joke with my wife. I say there's still parts of my frontal lobe that's still not developed.
All because of that, right?
But I mean, so it was difficult to process. Here you are. You already have financial, social, whatever challenges. The two people that's supposed to be there for you, they die in front of you. Now you've got those challenges. So in my mind, I just had to think survival from one day to another. So yeah, it affected me in a big way. It led to drug abuse in my 20s. And I think looking back now, I realized there was a void left within me because of the disappearance of those two figures. But even those things, eventually I'll talk on it, it worked for the good. But yeah, it did impact me. But it also brought about in me the will to survive, the will to find a solution, the will not to give up, the will to say there has to be a way to get through this issue.
Right. Interesting. Gary, now, when I spoke to you, when we had coffee, we also spoke about your background, and you obviously were one of the people that was affected by the previous dispensation, and you had to deal with that as well. And it's just so inspiring to see someone like you come from that background and make a success of it. And part of what we stand for at TakeASeat.tv is to try and bridge that gap, try and get people together, different groups of people to come together to build significant businesses. So what would you tell someone, a young guy that's in Cape Flats now, that seems like he has no future, no idea how he's going to come into this world post-COVID? It's almost a hopeless situation. What would you tell a young guy who knows he's got some kind of greatness inside of him, but he doesn't know how to unlock it?
Yeah, it's a big question, Kevin. So we're talking about three things. Number one, we're talking about a world pre-1994, and then the residue after 94. We're talking about a COVID, and then we're talking about an individual caught up in a social and economical dispensation that is easy to talk about, but it's another thing to live there. It's very easy, I think, sometimes for us as people on the sideline to say, well, can't you just? But when drug dealers are the only people making money in your neighborhood,
yep.
When it's the ones that's committing the crimes that's looking like they're doing better than everyone else, it infiltrates the mind of young people in a way that is sometimes difficult to renew with a simple conversation. That's the first thing I want to say.
Got it.
But what I would like to say to people out there, I come from that environment, and it is possible to get yourself out of it. So what I would say is, number one, if you're watching this, whether you're male, female, number one, there is life outside of the hood.
Right.
There is opportunity outside of the hood. you know? And I think that's the first thing they need to know. Secondly, I want to say to someone watching, if you know no one else, and maybe you're watching this video and you genuinely want to build a life, you can reach out to me. I would love to take one person and mentor them. But the main thing is understand that your life is not subject to the geographical area called your hood.
Wow.
That there is actually a
There's
life
more than that.
and opportunity and love and people out there. That's the first thing. Secondly, there's this huge narrative that's still alive in today's society. White people are racist, or black people are racist, or there's racists in every set of society. But if you're watching this and you're in the hood, I want to tell you, don't believe that lie. There's a lot of people out there that genuinely wants to work with you, work with your business, mentor you, help you, and to enable you to live a better life.
Love that. Love that, Gary. And I mean, you were speaking about that mentor of yours. I mean, this is something that we strive for with TakeASeat.tv as well. The academy that we've built is all about trying to find where young people fit into life, whether they're entrepreneurs or employees. And part of that journey is finding a mentor, connecting to people who've done the work, who've been through the difficult times, because we don't have to make those mistakes again. So tell me about the power of mentorship in your life, how that affected you from that point forward.
Well, first of all, I never knew what a mentor was. I knew that I needed help, but I never knew what a mentor was. So the power of a mentor for me, what will take you decades, will take you days.
Wow.
And it's vital to
Just
find
say
the
that
right
again,
mentor.
Gary. That's powerful. Just say that again so they can hear that clearly.
Yeah. When you have a mentor, what would have taken you decades is going to take you days now.
Love that.
And so many of us, so many people, they resist the shortest distance from A to Z. I find a lot of people, they live in that mindset of what is going to go wrong next. This is too good to be true. The wonderful thing about a mentor is that they know, as John Maxwell says, they know the way, they show the way, and they go the way. And when you're sitting on the shoulders of someone that knows the way, shows the way, and goes the way, it saves you decades of your life. So that's number one. Number two, a mentor begins to illustrate to you a way of life that's higher than your way of life. Number two.
Right.
Number three, I want to say to you, mentors is like friends. You don't get to choose them. And I think a lot of people, that's where they fall short. They want to choose their mentors. In my experience, it's like friends. You don't go up to someone and say, hey, do you want to be my friend? Let's be friends. No, you get to talk, you have a coffee. 9 months later, you're still having a coffee. Suddenly there's a friendship.
Right.
And I think with a mentor, sometimes you go to someone that you think can mentor you. You ask them a question. They give you advice. You apply the advice. You come back, you say, hey, you know the advice you gave me? I've applied it and it worked. I have another question. So I want to say to you, if you're watching this thing, remember, mentors want to be respected. They're not going to tell you that, but they want to be because their time is precious. So when you do find someone that's going to give you advice to help your life, your business, whatever, apply it and give feedback. Give feedback so that you show you are honoring and respecting that person that's investing the time and resources into your life.
Love that. Love that, Gary. Just from what your experience was at that time, Gary, that mentor, what do you think was behind that? What was the motivation, do you think, for him to phone someone random like you and say, listen, I want to be a mentor for you?
He didn't phone me. Okay. In fact, he just came out of rehab.
What? Unbelievable.
He just came out of rehab. He was a crackhead.
Wow.
And he was looking for a short-term loan.
Okay.
And so the company I worked for was a home improvement company. So if you've done some home improvements, they would give you a loan. So he was a potential client.
Okay.
He then latched onto my skill.
Okay.
And his brother is quite well off. And his brother began to back him financially to restart his life. He then saw in me something, whatever that was, and employed me. So his motive at that point, I think he had a heart for me. I think he did.
Right.
And he did mentor me hardcore business.
Yes.
But he didn't mentor me life.
Right. Got it.
Because, and I've spoken about this publicly, I've spoken about this privately. Most of my mentorship there, besides business, was drug, sex, and rock and roll.
Right.
But eventually I began to discover that he's a good man with possibly no ill intent. But he wasn't really the mentor that I was seeking.
Okay. So how would you define a mentor at the moment? Do you think you have two different mentors? You have people that teach you life skills, and then you have business mentors, or is it one guy? What would you say is the perfect mentor?
Yeah, I mean, look, me, I'm like a sponge, you know. I mean, I'm like a sponge. I learn from everyone first and foremost. I like to sit in coffee shops and just observe, and just by observation, you can get education, and I believe that, you know. But I believe you can have multiple mentors. I don't think one person can be, I don't know. Me personally, I've got a mentor for business. I've got a mentor in legal issues. I've got a mentor in my spiritual life. I've got a mentor in my physical life. I've got a mentor for relationships. So I want to latch on to people where I see they're doing life and they're doing it well in a specific sector, and I would go to them for advice in that sector. Right. I have yet to meet someone that's doing life well on all the platforms that I desire information on. I have not to date met such a person.
Right.
Which helps me feel a lot better, I'll be honest with you.
Absolutely. We're all still learning. We're all beginners.
Yeah.
Good, Gary. So then eventually it turned into a business. Now, I know your wife's involved in the business as well. So talking about relationships and business and how someone like that helps you in business.
Well, firstly, I can't do it without her.
Right.
I want to be clear on that. I might be the public face, I might be the public voice, but I am not able to do what I do the way I do it without Melissa.
Right.
You know, we went to a couple therapist once, and we spoke to this couple therapist, and the therapist said to me, Gary, your personality is, you're the fiery red. You're the reason the building is built in the first place. But Melissa's personality is, she's the reason the building stays standing.
Right.
And so she maintains what you built. And so we've taken that bit of advice 10, 12 years ago, and we began to understand that I can see something, I can cause that thing to be, but she will put in the measures to maintain and to grow what I've built. So it's very important, if you're husband and wife team, to understand who fits what role. That's critical, number one. Number two, define your roles within your business. So make sure that you don't overlap your wife, and my wife doesn't overlap me. So if she's in charge of payments, I'm not going to try and tell her how to run that department. Then the other thing that we found very challenging was, in the beginning, was to switch off from business. And maybe we can talk about that more if you want us to go into that. But to work together, to build a business together, have the kids, fitness, life, to do life, yes, and then to switch off at night, that was a challenge in the beginning. But we began to set aside time for certain things. We had times for meetings to discuss certain things. So we began to compartmentalize things so that the business didn't just swamp our entire life.
Got it. Gary, so on that point of design, so you design the leadership of the business. It's interesting you speak about that, because what we look for in an entrepreneur is a very specific profile. And sometimes what happens is two people coming together sometimes fit the right design for an entrepreneur. And I think that's what you guys have found. It's significant because you, as you said, you are the face of the business. You have the gift of the gab. You frontline worker, working with clients, and people enjoy speaking to you. You're an influential person. And it sounds like your wife is the one who puts down the systems, creates structure in the background, makes sure that, you don't lose whatever you sell in the front, lose it in the back. in the back office. Is that a fair description of what how you guys have designed it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, and along the journey, I mean, let's talk about the formulation of that. Along the journey, we met this wonderful woman called Elna Schulze. She's come on board, and she serves the role of a very strategic advisor. So I will have the idea, Melissa will have the systems to maintain and grow the idea, and then we'll bounce it off Elna to see, does it fit into the vision? Is it sustainable? Can we scale it from year to year? So yeah, it's important for us to do. What helped us a lot was when we began to discover, okay, Melissa, this is what you do. Gary, this is what you do. Elna, this is what you do. It began to help us to finally take this thing called this business and begin to shape it and mold it into what we've always envisioned it to be.
Love that. And Gary, we at Take a Seat TV, we always look at where the magic happens. That's how I define design. Somehow when you function inside your design, the supernatural happens. And I can see that in your life. I mean, when I see you interacting with people, I can see your design. You were absolutely made to be with people and around people and be a person of influence. And even while you're talking, you can see that. So, it's so important for businesses to understand that part, is that I need to understand who I am, what my limitations are, and who else I need to be designing a perfect business, because otherwise you're always going to be struggling. And I meet so many entrepreneurs who try and do everything all at once, and you end up losing the business because of that. And then they ask questions and they become part of the statistics of the first 5 years of a struggling business. But inherently, it was the design that was wrong. So well done with finding a great design.
Thank you,
Gary. Now, sorry, let me just ask one more question about the design. If you think back now to when you came out of school, was there any inkling of an idea that you could maybe run a business one day? Was that part of the thought process then already, or was it only about survival?
Initially, for the first several years, it was ultimately about survival.
Okay.
Number one. But something inside of me, I knew that I could never work for someone.
Okay.
Not because I'm rebellious, not because, no. There was something in me that I knew I am unemployable. It's okay. I'll say it.
I understand exactly what you mean. Right.
All right. Now, but eventually I began to latch on to realize I've got a gift. There's something I can take. I can take this cup and I can package it and I can sell it to you at a profit. I mean, one of my first businesses was I used to collect old clothing from people that nobody else wanted. And I saw that was selling it at 50 cents and R1 in the newspaper back then. But then I thought to myself, wait a minute, if you're selling dirty old clothes at 50 cents and R1, I wonder what I can get for it if I wash it and iron it. So when I washed it and ironed it, I could get double and then sometimes triple the price.
Amazing.
So it's true that I began to realize, no. I have something in me. There's a gift in me where I can take 100 and turn it into 400.
Right.
So yes, I do believe, as you said at the beginning of the show, an entrepreneur, you can't make them an entrepreneur. You are born an entrepreneur.
Absolutely.
If you're 50, 60 and still wondering it's too late. You're not an entrepreneur. Just accept it.
Right. Gary, and you know what? It's such a controversial discussion, that because people sometimes take offense when they hear only certain people are entrepreneurs. But I strongly believe this is something that we need to settle in people's minds, because here's the thing: if all of the world think they're entrepreneurs, where are we going to find great employees? And why are employees seen as second-class citizens? Why can't we be a partnership between entrepreneurs and employees where we help each other build great businesses and everyone benefits from it? To me, it's like the perfect system. But we have this thing, especially in our country, where people get told, start a business. And I'm so worried about that model, because what we're doing is we're just building micro businesses that are not making a difference to the economy. They're survival businesses. They might pay the the grocery bill or electricity, but we're not really making a difference in the world. And it's sad to see that happen. And what I'd like to see happen is a world of entrepreneurs partnering with great employees and building significant organizations.
Kevin, here's the thing. Too many people, they want the title. They don't understand that the title comes with an enormous responsibility. So they rather latch on and at best to a superficial title, but their entire life is in chaos.
Yep.
But they want the title. Number one. Number two, people need to move away from employee. Now, at our company, we don't call people employees. They are team members. They are part of a team building and running with a vision. And that vision is influencing not only their life, but it's influencing society. I think when people inside a company, they need to understand and they need to be made understood by their leaders that they serve a purpose, that the role that they play is anything but insignificant. The role that they play is significant and that it influences society as a whole.
Love that.
So the word employee for me, I'm an employee.
Yep.
I'm employed by my clients. and the beauty about it is, if you're an employee, but you are meant to be promoted, don't force the birth of your promotion. At the right time, the right person is going to see you, and within that environment, you're going to be promoted. We live in a society where people want instant gratification. They want instant meals, 2-minute noodles, shake and bake nonsense.
Absolutely.
And the thing is, a lot of people, they fight for these positions, but they have no understanding of the responsibility that comes with it. So there's a huge conversation about people that need to settle into the understanding that sometimes employee status is part of the process.
Yep.
Too many people, they want to skip the process and they want to go straight to the palace. And it never works like that. Secondly, on your other comment is we need people, a workforce in this country, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yep.
We need people that can serve inside companies, and I fully support that. And I'll say it privately, I'll say it publicly. Not everyone is meant to be a business owner. I've met many people, they're great lawyers, but they're not business people.
Yep.
They're great doctors, but they're not business people. And it's really as simple as that for me.
Yep. So I like that concept, Gary, of calling them team members, because I mean that's such a powerful way of looking at it. We're all trying to make a difference in the world, and that's what entrepreneurs do. We try and make a difference. The idea comes from the entrepreneur, but the execution comes from a workforce that believes in that vision. So I love that concept. Gary, I'm going to pause that conversation. I want to come back to talk about the design of employees, but I want to go do an ad clip quickly about one of the courses that we have is called the Life Accelerator, which is really about this point. It's about finding your purpose in life, then setting goals around your purpose in life, and then starting to execute those. So let's quickly go there and we'll come back now.
Awesome.
Want to accelerate your life? Start by finding your purpose. Purpose has become somewhat of a cliche, but in recent years, research has shown that purpose is a tool that can be used to enjoy the abundant life. Yes, you too can become wealthy and live a meaningful life. We have developed an action-packed 6 weeks online course that takes you through 6 critical steps to start taking massive action towards your abundant life. Go to www.takeaseat.tv and click on Academy. Get ready to accelerate. Gary, so tell me about the purpose of employees. How do you identify to find the right team members in your business? Finding the right person, recruiting the right person. What is the process you follow?
Wow, it's such a big question, Kevin. You know, attitude is critical. And people can fake attitude. I've seen that. But for me, attitude is important. A willingness to grow, a humility to admit that they need help. Hopefully, I can pick up those things within the interview process. I don't always like people, one thing I don't want is, one thing I would never want to do, and I've learned this now through knocking my head, I don't want to employ a workaholic.
Okay.
I find workaholics in a work environment, it can be a little bit toxic. I want someone with a healthy, balanced life. And you can pick up in the interview process where their priorities sort of lie.
Yep.
But the attitude, number one, willingness to grow, to learn, to develop. Those are, for me, I think, two core core qualities that I'm looking for when speaking to an individual. Yeah.
All right. So, Gary, that speaks to character more than skill. So are you in agreement then that character trumps skill?
Absolutely. Because for me, you can have someone that's very skillful, but toxic. Someone that's very skillful, but narcissistic.
Right.
Someone that's very skillful, but devious, underhanded, stirs the undercurrent.
Yeah.
But you'll find someone with tremendous character, not as skillful, but they're so humble, willing to learn, respectful, that they are able to learn within 3 months what that person brought to the party on day one, but the damage that skillful, toxic person made in 3 months, one has to be very careful of that. I like to keep a balance on that. I'll give you an example. We interviewed someone, I won't say where in South Africa, but we interviewed this person. A highly qualified human being. For about an hour, talking to this person, the only topic we were discussing is this person, their future, their finances, their objections, their goals, their narrative, blah, blah, blah. Not one bit of interest in the brand, the icon, where we're going, where we are, etc. None of that. On paper, that person was perfect. After a 30-minute discussion,
different story.
Very different story.
Yeah, I often see that with recruitment, Gary, and the company that I run on the family business side. We often do 300 to 400 interviews a year, and we see this often when we speak to recruiters that that what they hear from the candidates is all about their life, what they achieved, what they want. But if you ask them, listen, tell me something about my company, at least go research what we do. They have no idea what the company does. They have no idea how they want to come and make a difference. And it's always odd for me to see that, because you're coming to the business to come and help build whatever the vision is. And if you know nothing about the vision, why are you there? Like, why are you pitching for an interview?
Exactly. And I mean, like a simple thing, like at the moment, we're designing a test within our company. We hope to roll it out in the new financial year. And when people want to be promoted within the company, we're now going to implement a test. They have to score 100% on this test before they go to the next level. But part of the test is actually testing their knowledge on the brand, the culture, the vision, the mission, etc. Because it doesn't help your job. You've been here for 2 years, but you know nothing about the culture, you don't support the culture, etc., and you want to be promoted. So absolutely support that. You find this, I don't know where it comes from, but I've noticed there's this golden thread as of late. They know nothing about the company. They don't even know that the company has a website.
Yep. Yeah, I was talking to Shanae, my assistant, this morning about how you join a company and what you need to know about a company before you join a company. And one of the things I think is really important is understanding where your leader is going. What is his vision? What is his gifting? What is he good with? What is he bad with? Where do you see the supernatural happening in his life? Because that's what you need to connect to. And stop worrying about how you're going to make things work. Because if you can believe in the dream that he's put down on paper as a vision or a mission, there's not much more you need to know. You just go to work, do the job, build that business, and you'll be fine. You don't have to sit with all the stress of the finances and the cash flow and all of that. That's not your problem. Your problem is doing your little bit in the business and making sure you're doing it well.
Kevin, I mean, let's talk about, if I can answer you by using an estate agent as an example and use your statement to as a point of reference.
Do that.
I say to an estate agent, the average income of an estate agent in South Africa at the moment is 24,756 rand, give and take.
All right.
That's just under 300,000 a year. That's before taxes, and that's before operational costs for that agent to function. Okay? I say to people in this company, guys, there's a formula we have here. Follow the formula so that we can make sure that the minimum income for an estate agent inside Icon is at least 100% above the average within South Africa. Too many people, too many people, they, as you said, the leader, well, I just want to digress slightly. The leader does have a responsibility to make sure that the vision is plain, so that the people that come into the vision, they understand the vision and they can run with the vision. This is very important. That took me a long time to understand. But when you as a leader are able to take that vision from your mind, from your heart, whatever, and put it over to them to make it so plain, make them understand where they fit into the vision, they are then able to run with the vision. If we're not clear enough on the vision, I find that sometimes where people get distorted. But if you are in a brand where people are clear on what the vision is, I want to encourage you, run with that vision. I find people in our company, the ones that's latched onto the vision, they are the ones that's doing the best within the company.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you can easily see it, Gary, when people can't connect to something bigger than themselves. You immediately know they have an independent mindset. It's all about them and what they want to achieve in life. And I always say to employees, stop thinking about only your survival, because if you connect to a vision, something bigger than you, you're going to get everything you want and more. Plus, you're building a business. And that's going to give you a lasting job, something that you can have somewhere you can have a career in. So it's odd that people have got into the survival mindset, and all you should be doing is cast those cares onto something bigger than yourself, something that can take care of all of that moving forward. I mean, things like increases. You were talking about promotion. It all comes to you when you just build the vision. You don't have to strong arm the owner and have regular meetings with him to remind him of your position. It'll happen. If you shine in that business, you'll be promoted.
Too many people are, I find a lot of people, look, let me put it this way. I'll simplify what I want to say. If serving is beneath you, leadership is beyond you.
Love that.
If you follow well, you lead well.
Absolutely.
You can never lead beyond the capacity that you are able to serve.
Love it. Love that. Gary, so now here's your team. I'm going to put it on the screen quickly. So talk to us about Icon. How did this... So you started off obviously selling property, but then it became a business, and there's some lovely people here and lots of people. So there's your lovely wife as well. So talk to me about the business. Where does it function? How many offices do you have?
Wow.
Tell us about Icon.
Wow. I mean, you're catching me off guard with this one. That's interesting. It's amazing that as you're busy growing the brand, you never get time to come up and actually sometimes look at the flowers. So, I must say we're fortunate. I mean, Elna Schulz, a remarkable woman, a woman that I have great respect for. I've said this privately and publicly. I have no problem in saying that. She's come along as very much of a strategic advisor, because within the sector, there's not many really competent people within our industry that can guide you and help you grow the brand. So she's amazing. Melissa, obviously the current acting CEO, principal for the brand, head of finance. Chanel over there, she runs the store out in Delft. We've been active in that area for just over 20 years. So she's the branch assistant. Crystal van Skaltwyk, she runs from our Mitchell's Plain store. Dion is out in Glen William. Eugene is out in East River. Farouk is out in Mitchell's Plain. Gano is out in East River. Gazelle is out in the southern suburbs. Janique helps Melissa with creditors, debtors. Judy Martin is what we would call a sales support specialist. So she's like the glue that keeps all the transactions together between the attorneys, the banks, the agents, etc., buyers and sellers. Letitia, Somerset West, Helderberg agent. Manda Carlser runs our rental department. Othello sales out in Mitchell's Plain. Rabia runs the Mitchell's Plain store. Robin works out in Kells River. Shannon works out in Belleville. Sean works out in Kells River, Delft, Belhar. Tertia works out in the Helderberg market. Valerie works out in the Belhar, Delft market. Vanda then works out in the Belleville market. Yeah.
Amazing. Amazing group of people. This is a big business, Gary. Gary, so now
I don't always think so.
I've clicked on why Icon. Tell us about what makes Icon different. And it's obviously connected to you and your wife and the vision you guys have. What makes it different?
I'll use the ShopRite analogy because I think it's an analogy that best sort of explains it. For many years, ShopRite served the lower income market. It's now that they've become a Checkers and they're taking on Woolies and that. So we want to make a difference in real estate. We want to bring a 5-star service to the real estate market on the Cape Flats. That's always been our vision and that's always been our goal.
Amazing.
Because with those kind of challenges, people are exploited and whatever. So we wanted to bring a 5-star service. So the solution we bring is we bring a property service to those markets. We treat those people like they're spending millions.
Love that.
And that's always just been our heart's desire. That has spilled over into stores, and now we're covering multiple areas. That's really what our heart is, in essence, is to serve those people with 5-star service.
Yeah. Gary, talk to me about that. It's an interesting concept, and I've seen it happen many times. When you talk about the concept of excellence in your business, it's somehow when you show people excellence and they confronted with that every day, it changes them. Is that what you experience happening to that market as well?
One of my mentors, he said something to me, and I'll always remember it. He said, inside every king, there's a boy. Inside every boy, there's a king.
Wow. Love that.
That helps me a lot because, I work on the Cape Flats. I love it. Okay, I'm drawn to it. There's drug dealers. I've sold their houses. It sounds crazy what I'm saying, but when you're in your purpose, it all makes sense.
Yeah.
Someone that's outside of your purpose, it's not going to make sense to them because it's not their purpose.
Yep. Yep.
And when you're talking to someone that's got an alcohol problem, but you treat them with dignity and respect. You speak to them with a sense of recognizing that there's a purpose in this person's life and that you're serving a purpose in their life, and that the sale to you is a problem solved to them.
Okay.
When you understand this, what's that?
I say it's a win-win situation.
It's a win-win. For me, that's how I do business. And when you speak to people with dignity and respect, that's for me, this is really it. If you come to one of our stores, let's look at the Delft store. That's a beautiful store. We've invested quite a bit. Beautiful mall. ShopRite has spent serious money there. But the people that come in there over and over, 18 years later, 15 years later, they will tell you, I come back here because I'm treated with respect and dignity. I'm not treated according to the way I look and according to the bank balance in my money in my bank account.
Amazing, Gary. That's absolutely amazing. Gary, now tell me the future of Icon. Where's this going? What's the 100-year vision for Icon?
Yeah, I heard someone the other day speak about a 300-year vision.
There we go.
I love it. I love it. Well, in the short term, we are working behind the scenes at the moment. We've got a huge goal for 2025, We want to be recognized as one of the most respected real estate agencies within our market sector.
Okay.
That's our short-term goal.
And is that a specific award that you can go for? Is there award a body that awards people like that?
I'm looking into this African Awards and the Real Estate Africa Awards, and that I'm currently busy with that. And I'm looking for the categories in which we can qualify in order to achieve that goal.
Right.
Secondly, our desire is that the people within our company, that everyone must do financially well, according to their level.
Yep.
Not this hocus pocus nonsense.
Yep.
According to your level, you're doing well. So if you're a cleaner, we want you to do better than most cleaners.
Above average.
Above average. We don't want the status quo to dictate to us our level of excellence.
Got it.
So those are our short-term goals for us. Our main priority within the company, above everything else, is that we want the people, the team within the people, to experience and to live in financial freedom.
Okay. Love that. Gary, and you personally, all entrepreneurs have this. What drives you going forward? What's the motivation for getting up every morning and coming to that business?
I want to bring what drives me every day. Number one, every day is day one for me.
Okay.
Number two, I know that there's a product in real estate that I want to bring to the Cape Flats that's never been seen before. That's going to improve communities and the quality of the lives of people in those communities that we serve.
Got it. Gary, now, if you think about the rewards of being an entrepreneur, and in the early years, obviously, it's not financial. Later, it becomes financial. What have been the rewards as an entrepreneur for you? How's your life changed because of your design?
The greatest reward for us, my wife and I, is when we see the people on our team prosper.
Okay.
For me, there's one guy, I won't mention his name, he's in our company. I recruited him from a national company. They in the building supply business. And he was in debt. He was earning 15 grand a month, whatever. I invited him over. He was with us. He started hanging out with in a different, the conversation gets different the higher you go. So he started getting engaged into a different kind of conversation. 2 years after being with us, debt-free, living in a much better neighborhood, his kids are in much better schools, his quality of life is much better. Those are the things that brings me pure joy. Amazing. That for me is saying, wow, there's a purpose to what this business is doing. It's impacting other people's lives. And I think my joy, my reward, truthfully speaking, and I say it privately and publicly, is when people that I'm connected with, when they prosper. Jim Rohn put it this way. Jim Rohn said, when you give other people everything they want, you'll get everything you want.
Love it. Love it. The win-win. So I think your life has been designed around the win-win concept. Yes, Gary. So this was back to our discussion about employees in the beginning. That's what I live for, is building businesses where there's a win-win situation with employees. And I try through my consulting work to teach other companies how to do that, because we become so selfishly minded when we run after money and we are profit-driven only. A business has to make profit, but you can't forget about the people that have helped you build that business. So, such a powerful concept for entrepreneurs to understand. As you say, if you help them build their lives, they'll build your life. It's absolutely the case.
Correct.
Gary, there's gold all over this, and I would love another session with you. There's just amazing conversations happening here, and we're going to get back to some of this in future again, if you don't mind. But I want to change direction to a couple of questions, less daunting questions. Just to end the show off with, one of them is, I'd like to know if you could choose 3 places on the globe that you will still like to visit. Where would that be?
Yeah, well, Russia.
Russia? But wartime Russia or Russia? A peaceful
I was
Russia.
about to say amen. Anyway, but I'll just say it. Amen. Russia.
Right.
I'd love to be in China for a while.
Okay.
China.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
And then, of course, I would love to do some of the like Norwegian
Countries.
sectors of the world. You know.
Okay. Got it. Gary, and secondly, in around your social media, I see social media all over your business and digital apps and stuff. Tell me on your phone, what are the 3 apps that you use most for business?
Uber Eats.
Really? That would be my wife's number 1 app. Uber Eats, yes.
No, so the
I hope
apps
it's
most on my
healthy
phone.
food, Gary. Is it healthy? Are you
It
ordering
is.
healthy food or are you ordering KFC every day?
No, healthy. Yeah, I think you
Okay.
know Melissa by now. She's on me. No.
All right.
Okay,
Okay.
so obviously with the business Uber, I do use it a lot. Number 1. Number 2, obviously I've got this attorney app, ESI, some free advertising. I use their app quite a bit. They've got an amazing app where you can do ROIs, transfer fees, bond fees, whatever. And then number 3, there's a property app where I can search for details of owners, title deed numbers, etc. It's an app called Lightstone. So I've got that app. So those are the 3 most frequently used apps on my phone. Yeah.
Okay, so if someone is a budding property entrepreneur, then those 3 apps will help him immediately if he gets onto those.
I don't know what Uber Eats, but yeah.
All right, Gary, and then lastly, if we make Gary president tomorrow morning in this country, and you have to change 3 things in the next 6 months, what will that be?
Wow, big question. Big question. Well, firstly, I mean, number 1, I would want to drive out corruption at the core of it.
Okay.
This is the biggest problem. You know, the fish rots from the head. That's just the way it is. So I think corruption is at the root of the problem. Greed has settled in. So those things, that's the number 1 thing. And I think once I can deal with that, we want to get away with this. And I'm going to say it, I'm probably going to be crucified for it. Make away with this BBEE stuff.
Right.
Okay. We got to create a society and an economy where people it is a healthy environment for people to compete in. May the best one get the job. And I'm not saying don't employ this or don't employ that. The other day I made such a comment on social media, 300 conversations later, but I didn't back out because we need to talk about this. So this BBB, it's another word for theft. It's another word for, and I'll be shut down for saying this, but I'm just going to say it. It's theft. You create a dysfunctional society, then you create the repair of that society through a system called BE tenders, and then you steal the money that's allocated for the economy. So we're going to deal with that. And then number 3, I mean, I would love, and I think as a result of that, restore the justice system in this country. I think once again, it's because of this corruption. It's become a lawless society where criminals basically think they run society. And I think if we can fix those toxicity, those things, I think we'll have a very different land. Vote for me in 2024.
Absolutely. I was going to say that, Gary for president. Gary, just on that point of BE, and I know it's a hot topic. This is partly what we are trying to achieve with TakeAseat.tv. I think if we can get entrepreneurs to work together, people like you and me, and we start mentoring people, getting people into the system, identifying whether they're entrepreneurs, identifying whether they are team members, and helping them get somewhere inside our businesses. We're going to solve this problem quicker than any government can solve it. But we're going to have to work together. And I think there's still this divide between black and white which we need to get rid of. We 28 years or whatever in the running of this now. I think it's time that we get together as a community, as South Africans, and saying, listen, we have one option here, and that's to fix this country ourselves. There's no other option for us. And no system like BE is going to help us.
Well, here's the thing, Kevin, I'll hit you with this. I've never met an entrepreneur that's come to me, black, white, Indian, colored, Chinese, whatever, Russian, and I've dealt with different kinds of people. I've never met one of them come to me and said, Terry, by the way, before we start this conversation, what's your BE status?
Exactly.
People in this country, there's this narrative that there's this huge divide amongst people. That's a propaganda that's being perpetuated by media, and it's a blatant lie from the pit of hell. Most people actually in this country wants to get on with life and get on with business. Exactly. 3 weeks ago, I was approached by a black girl, young girl, 22, that came to me. She didn't ask me for my BE status. She didn't ask me what the color of my skin. She said to me, "Hi, I see your company on social media. I really want to get into real estate. Would you take me on and teach me?"
Amazing.
Kevin, I welcome those kind of people. Bring them on. I'll take you on. I'll teach you. But please don't come to me on the premises that because you previously disadvantaged, you need to get special treatment. It's not going to work with me. I'll say it privately and publicly. I will not stand for it. But if you are the best person for the position, be sure that you are going to get that position.
Yeah. Love that, Gary. Love that.
That's my 5 cents. On live national television.
Well, I mean, it's back to that point of what you said. In every king, there's a young boy or a young girl, if it was a queen. And, it's personal responsibility, taking control of your life and stop blaming the people around you. It's that. And someone like you has lived that.
If I can close off with a statement, Kevin, I understand that as a leader, I have great responsibility to around me identify the individuals that I have to connect with, lend a hand when necessary, help when necessary. I'm completely open to that. I do not care about your skin pigmentation. I care about your character. I care about your desire. I care about your willingness to grow, your willingness to learn, and your willingness to contribute back into the same society from where you came and to build your nation. Those are the things I look for. And I will work with any person that wants to better themselves and as a result, better the country.
Love that, Gary. Love that. Gary, you know what? We obviously find people from time to time that connect to the show and that want mentors. So if you don't mind, if I do find people like that who are interested in the property market, I'm going to point them towards you and see if you can help them in any way. Maybe, something there. But I think it's exactly that. Us as entrepreneurs, we have to find ways to help people like that. And as you said, that person had to come to you. It's not like you're going to go out and find people. There are people out there that can make a difference. You just need to find them and pick up the phone, make the call, make a decision.
Thank you, Kevin. I'm available anytime.
Great. Gary, thank you so much. I mean, there's so much here we can do. We can talk for hours. I love the way you see the world. I love the way you see entrepreneurship. You are headed for great things, and I'm really excited to be part of that journey. And we're going to probably check in with you in the next 6 months. Would love to do that again and have a follow-up chat on this.
Thanks for having me on your show. It's a great honor. It's a great privilege to be with you. Thanks for the invitation. And I'd love to be part of it. And I look forward to being with you again in 6 months.
All right. Gary, have a great day. We'll chat soon.
Cheers, Kevin. All the best. Bye. Bye.